All right, guys, welcome back to school after MEA break. We're really going to get into this writing aspect of this research project this week. So I'm going to run you through what needs to get done each and every single day. Okay, remember, you have science every day. You need to get things done every single day to kind of keep on track. Otherwise, you're going to fall further and further behind. Okay, so as you can kind of see in the upcoming, the most important thing here to worry about is getting your rough draft written and complete. Okay, so really the only thing we need to do here before we jump into that rough draft is take a look at the weekly plan. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to introduce the report right now, kind of. I'll also walk you through the scaffold, the skeleton, and how to utilize that to the best of your ability. Show you a finished one so that you can kind of see if you're doing things correctly. And then your work begins on Monday, filling in that scaffold. Okay, so your goal is to get a good portion of that done by Monday night. Okay, we will start this in class if I see you on Monday. My expectation, if I see you on Tuesday, is to have you guys be pretty far with that scaffold. In class, you'll have work time. I'll give you some feedback. Your goal is to have that scaffold done, okay, and start turning that scaffold into a rough draft by the end of the day, Tuesday. Okay, so those are kind of the expectations for that day. Okay. Finish the scaffold and begin writing that rough draft. Okay. Nothing really new on Wednesday. What you need to do is make sure you turn in the scaffold. So turn in your Google Doc where you're filling in the blanks by Wednesday. You can do it early, okay, but make sure you turn the scaffold in to the rough draft assignment in Schoology by Wednesday. Okay, like I said, really nothing new for Wednesday. You are continuing to write, continuing to try to turn that scaffold into a paper, even if it's not perfect yet. You know, this is a rough draft. You're working through that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay, this thing is due, the rough draft due Friday by 11:59 p.m. on Friday. Okay. If you would like to turn this thing in, the rough draft in early, feel free. Just realize that next week we are working on writing the final draft. So it might be a little bit more worth your while to kind of hold off on turning things in early this week and do it a little bit more next week, because we're going to be doing some editing and peer reviewing and stuff like that. Okay, but if you'd like to turn it in early, feel free. Okay. So I am going to go into this research scientist paper rough draft assignment and talk you through a couple of important things. Okay. The grading rubric is here for you. I'll show you another spot where you can find it as well. Okay. But we're going to take everything that we've done, and this is why it's so important that your notes are done now, because you're going to take those notes and plug them into the scaffold. That is step number one. Okay. So I've got the scaffold right here for you. Okay, I mentioned it briefly before we went on our break here. But what I'd like you to do is I would like you to fill in these blanks. Okay, it would probably be best once you get your copy to get rid of these big, huge blanks and just start typing in underneath. Please do so in a different color, right? My example here, everything's in a different color. Okay, that way it's easier for me, easier for you to understand what you wrote compared to what I wrote or provided for you. Okay, so the first thing is very simple. You're just going to get rid of these lines and type in your research question, whether it was, you know, how do we get rid of poverty, or how do we get rid of the ocean pollution problem. Whatever your research question is, that goes here. Okay, so that shouldn't take you very long to do. The next thing is to create a paragraph that is a hook, something to try to get your reader invested, interested in what you're trying to say. Remember, this is a report to your boss for a company who's trying to expand their business into something that's going to help life on Earth. Okay, so you really need to get your boss invested in your particular topic so that the company itself is willing to put the money forth to help out with this cause. So I'm thinking as you've gone through and you've done all of your research, that you've found some interesting, cool facts that you can use here. So again, get rid of all of these lines, put in your key facts or cool things for a hook. Okay, afterwards, you're going to get into the literature review. Okay, and you're going to break things down based on your sources. This is why you needed your notes to be in separate categories. Okay, so for source number one, what you're going to do is you're going to say according to and then who the author and the source is. So you'll get rid of all of this and type in what you need to in a different color. And then the date, the year. Okay, and then you need your first big idea, and that should come over from the left-hand side of your Cornell notes. Okay, I would say before you start plugging in big ideas is to review your notes and really pick out what you feel as though are the most important big ideas that help answer your question, because that's what your boss is going to want to hear about your question. And I would pick the best ones first. Okay, really dive into answering and the best possible solutions in that first paragraph after your hook. Okay, so you get rid of this line and you just type in what the big main idea is. Okay, and then you start listing your facts. So again, get rid of all these lines, type in your facts. Okay, those should come from the right-hand side of your notes. If you need more space, feel free to add facts 6, 7, 8, 9, however many you've got. Okay, if you have a second big idea or even a third big idea that you think are extremely important and need to go into your paper, you're just going to repeat that process below. Okay. Eventually, you are going to get to your conclusion sentence or conclusion statement. Okay, so in conclusion, whoever the source is, whoever the author is, you type that there, and then says, and then you kind of synthesize that big idea in this space. Again, get rid of the lines, type in a different color. Okay, and then you're just repeating for however many sources you have. Now, I've had a couple of questions about sources and enough information, and I can definitely see where source number one, let's say it was NASA, and you had a really, really big article from NASA, and that article was kind of chunked into big ideas. And what you might want to do here is you have two big ideas that revolve around topic A. Okay, well, down here for source number two, you could still use that one singular NASA source, but maybe the ideas are very different than what you have up here. Okay, definitely go down here to source 2 and say NASA. It would be the same information here, but you'd be diving into a completely different idea, which you would put here, and then the facts that go with it. Otherwise, you're jumping to the next source. Maybe you've got two big ideas from NASA, and then you go down here to source number 2, and it's National Geographic. You just jump in and repeat the process. Okay? So you do that for however many sources you have. If you have more, feel free to just copy and paste the structure up here. Okay? Now, eventually, you're going to get into the analysis and conclusion part. Okay? So here you're going to say, I found... and you're going to list the number, or you're going to put the number of main ideas, okay, just a number here, about what your topic is, and then get rid of these lines here and just list those main ideas. And then you're going to get rid of all of these, okay, and you're going to talk about how those main ideas fit together to create a solution to whatever your topic is, okay. So this is where you're bringing all of those really great ideas together and putting it into a nice, clear message for your boss as to here are the things that our company can do to help answer whatever the question is. Okay, and then down here at the bottom, you've got your references. The format is here. So you put the author's last name, comma, first initial, period. Make sure you follow all the punctuation. Okay, and that is the scaffold. Okay, in this assignment here, there is a student example, which looks like this. Okay, so I've done one for you. All right. It is not something that deals with helping life on Earth. It's completely different. So you're just going to have to think about that as you're comparing. Okay. But everything that you need is here for you. Okay. So take a look at that. It's a great resource. Step number 2 then is to turn your scaffold into a rough draft, an actual paper. Okay, so we've taken notes and turned them into scaffold. Now we're taking a scaffold and turning it into an actual paper. Okay. Now the format of what that paper looks like, you're going to need to take a look at the student example, which is here. Okay. So, up here at the top, you're going to write something like poverty paper or ocean pollution paper or whatever the case is. And then make sure you've got these headers. They're bolded, they're underlined. Follow the format exactly, please. And then you just type in right from your scaffold your research question. Okay. Then you go into the literature review, but the first paragraph is the hook. Okay. I just want to be very clear. You put the title, Review of Literature. Here's your hook, and then the second paragraph and the following paragraphs of that literature review are these right here. Okay, so it is pretty much kind of plug and chug. I mean, you have to kind of fill in the blanks a little bit with a flow of writing that is very clear, very succinct. Okay, but this is eventually what you're going to run into. However many sources you have, how many different ideas you have, that's how many paragraphs. And then you've got your analysis, which is your conclusion, right? And then you have your references. Okay. Don't mess with any of the spacing. Okay. Keep it the way that this has it. All right. One really important thing to think about while you're doing this is to make sure you have the scoring rubric in mind as you're doing that. So the scoring rubric, if you click on it, takes you to this. Looks like this. Okay. The big ones that I'm really going to focus on here when it comes to assessing you in a week is the key ideas and details, and then the spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Okay, I'm not really going to be focusing on the variety of resource formats. Okay, I'm really looking at your ability to communicate and put ideas together in a way that is very clear. It is supported by lots of evidence. Okay, that's why I said you needed 6 to 8 facts. Okay, that's where this stuff comes in. But the important part is to not have a bunch of different ideas that are really difficult to try to put together. Everything needs to flow and to synthesize into one kind of big main idea. Okay, so I would say before you start writing, before you start even doing the scaffold, stop and pause and figure out, based on your notes, what are your arguments? What are your solutions? What are your ideas? And how are you going to put them together in a way that makes sense? Okay, that's what this first criteria is all about. And then the other one is making sure that you write clearly and that it's not full of grammar and punctuation mistakes. Okay, so those are the key things that I'm looking for. All right, that's the process for the week. If you have any questions or need any help, please make sure you ask. Depending on when I see you this week, that's what we're going to be doing. So if I see you on Monday, that's what we're going to be doing. If I see you on Thursday or Friday, I expect you to be writing at that point your rough draft. You should not be on your scaffold. All right. Okay. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and good luck with your rough draft.